Fear is nature's oldest teacher. This is not a tale of heroes. This is where boys are sent to die. Unless they learn to survive. Welcome to the Alphonso Archives. Late afternoon light poured over the clearing. The sky glowed gold, casting long shadows across the dirt. It was still day, but the forest ahead seemed to promise night. 7 boys stood at the edge of the forest, sons of power, now stripped of it. The dirt beneath their feet was cracked and dry. The air hung heavy, no breeze, no bird song, as if the forest itself was holding its breath. Behind them, 2 black trucks idled. The engines grumbled, restless, like beasts waiting to depart. The forest loomed ahead, trees knotted and overgrown. Gaps between trunks opened like a mouth, ready to swallow them whole. One bore a thick scar across his jaw, the other chewed a matchstick. Faces not of strangers, but executioners. These were not men sent to guide the boys. They were there to remind them they were nothing.
Look at this herd of sheep. JJ went soft. Now look where it got the little bastard. Didn't think we'd be babysitting traitors' kids today.
The boys said nothing. One of the youngest began to tremble. His shallow, panicked breaths were the only sound in the silent clearing.
Out, move.
Without ceremony, they were cast forward. The trucks reversed. Tires ground into the dirt. Dust rose in their wake. In moments, the vehicles vanished, and with them, the last link to the lives they once knew. Silence returned. No engines, no voices, only the low rustle of leaves and the chirp of insects. Fear scattered the weak. Instinct kept the rest together. Not loyalty, not friendship. The herd survives longer than the lone prey. Hours passed. No lights, no voices. The forest surrounded them like a closing fist. Alphonso and the others stayed close, not out of trust, but because the unknown felt worse than each other. These were not men from the boys' world. No shared blood, no loyal glances, no promises of safety. For the first time in their lives, no one greeted them with open arms.
What the fuck are we doing hauling rich kids like cargo?
Could sell these little fuckers. Easy money. No one's looking for 'em. Or just dump 'em here. Let the dogs or vultures take care of it.
Don't be a dumbass. They got ties. Javier's friend pulled strings for this shit. Last favor. After tonight, they're not our problem.
The boys didn't hear the words, but they saw the looks, the hesitation, the weighing of their worth. They were not cargo, not even prisoners. They were bait. The drive felt endless. The blindfolds smelled of sweat and gasoline. The boys said nothing. Questions would be wasted. Hope would be foolish.
Long fucking day. First a raid in Tamazula. Now we're babysitting rich little assholes.
Should have just shot him back at the drop. Save us the gas.
Whole Javier clan's falling apart. His sons are gutless. Whole fucking family's soft now. El Salvador dies and they crumble. All that power. Now they send kids to do their spying. Pathetic. Only reason we're even hauling them? Javier's friend called in a debt. Said this is the last favor.
Soon enough, nobody's gonna remember the Javiers at all.
The boys couldn't see the road, couldn't see each other, but they heard enough. They were not sons, not soldiers, just burdens, and the world had already moved on. No instructions, no encouragement. The cartel men turned without ceremony. They climbed back into their trucks. No goodbyes, no second glances. They drove away. Dust and exhaust, the only farewell. The journey had begun. At their feet lay tiny canvas bags. Inside, a torch, stale bread, dried meat, and half a bottle of water. A rusty paper map had been shoved into Alphonso's chest. Faded lines, a crude marker scratched where the trail was meant to lead. No instructions, no warnings, just a direction. The forest stretched ahead, blacker than the sky above. Insects hissed, leaves rustled. Somewhere deep in the dark, wolves howled. Yet worse than the noise was the silence between it. The trail was no accident. It had been carved by years of footsteps and tires grinding toward the border. Migrants, prisoners, contraband, all had passed this way. Some had never made it through. This was no wild trail. This was a corridor of cruelty. And then, worse. Bones scattered among the roots, fragments of those forgotten, not buried. No shallow graves, no dignity, just leftovers. The boys had grown up in estates, marble floors, silk sheets. Now the world they inherited showed its true face. Reality crushed him. Fear scattered the herd once before, and it did again. The boy vanished into the woods. No one chased him. The others knew better. The darkness was not kind to the alone. The forest offered no pity. Neither would they. Before the forest, before betrayal, there was still a time for lessons.
The world you were born into. It's a cruel and wicked one. No child should ever face what lies ahead. But if I fail to protect you, then listen close. When fear grips you, move. When others freeze, act. And when no one comes to save you, survive. Even if it makes the world hate you for it.
Now, in the cold dark of the forest, the lesson returned. But so did the anger. He was angry. Angry at the family that abandoned him. Angry that survival had become his only inheritance. The others would wait for rescue. Alphonso would not. The fire inside him would not die here. cold, hunger, fear. They no longer came in waves. They were constant, like the weight of the air itself. One boy stumbled, fell. He rose once, fell again. This time, he did not stand. Alphonso grabbed his arm, pulled, but the boy's eyes had already surrendered. "Go," he whispered. "Leave me." And Alphonso did. Another night came. The forest grew colder. The third boy, once the loudest, was gone by morning. No sounds, no struggle, just gone. The herd had scattered. The wolves had not. The forest offered no pity. Neither would he. The others were gone. No more voices, no more footsteps, only his breath. The crude map, now damp and torn, was nearly useless. But the trail, the corridor of cruelty, still led forward. Even the mighty do not always fall in battle. They fall to time. The cougar, a predator born to rule this forest, but it had lingered too long beneath another's decay. It had trusted strength alone, and strength had failed. The tree was power. The cougar was pride. Both fell. Neither adapted. Even kings become prey for the smallest, if they stand still long enough. Strength without foresight is a trap. Power without movement is a death sentence. He would not be the cougar. He would not be the tree. He would become the wind, passing over both. The weak die waiting for rescue. The strong shape their own escape. The forest had taken everything but will, and will had carried him farther than blood, name, or loyalty. He was no longer a son, no longer a pawn. The boy who entered the forest had died beneath fallen trees and forgotten bones. What remained was something harder, sharper, hungrier. Survival is not victory, but it is the seed from which power grows.